without a fin, but wallet-friendly. Oppo made quite a fuss on the market with the Reno series. This is another Chinese manufacturer that offers great smartphones in good prices, and it competes with the most popular brands on the market more successfully. Oppo develops the Reno series more intensively, in which Reno Z is the most wallet-friendly model. It is priced at €349. It only lacks more exciting features of its more expensive brothers, mostly the selfies camera that slides out from the housing, the so-called fin, and one of the strongest CPU from Qualcomm, that is Snapdragon 855. But I am still convinced that it will not disappoint potential buyers. It is pretty, handy, efficient, it works with multimedia and while gaming. It has a big, 6.4-inch AMOLED display, 4GB of RAM, 128GB of internal memory and a nicely working 48-megapixel camera. This smartphone is not free from flaws, but in the middle price shelf this is an interesting, and affordable, proposition. Packaging and accessories. The package in which we receive the Reno Z model can be a great gift to be put under the holiday tree. The gifted will have a lot of joy when unpacking the rather large and long box that contains the smartphone, VOOC 3 quick charger, appropriate cables supporting the VOOC technology with the green plug, earphones with a microphone and a 3.5mm jack and a cover made out of dark rubber. The smartphone is a beautiful device, with a shiny housing that shimmers with blue and violet colors. But the safety of the phone is more important than its looks. And despite the fact that the added cover takes away some beauty of it, it will protect the phone from any scratches and accidental slips from our hands. It is dimmed and it has a dark gray color, so it will probably not tint to yellow after a while, as it sometimes happens with transparent ones. There are two color versions of Oppo Reno Z, black and gradient, navy blue violet, which reached the office. It looks really attractive, and despite that it draws attention to itself, the design is not obnoxious. Cameras are discreet, the strap that intersects the housing look pretty. In order to protect the device from any harm we can always use a rubber cover in a dark color. It protects, but it deprives Reno Z of some of its beauty. The most important thing is that the whole is handy and it lies in hands nicely, no matter if we will put the smartphone in a rubber etui or when we use the device without it. The smartphone has an impressive AMOLED display with a 6.4-inch diagonal. Those with smaller hands will have a slight problem to use it with one hand. It has prolonged 19.59 ratio and the 2340 by 1080 pixels resolution, which translates to 402 pixels per inch. What is more, the display supports HDR10, it has great readability angles, it can be used in glasses with a polarizing filter, and it offers a high brightness. The display is, without a doubt, one of the best advantages of the reviewed device. Let us add that the more expensive Oppo Reno model has the same display. In settings there is the possibility to control the color's temperature. It is useful when the white balance is a bit too cold in the default configuration. There is the off-screen clock option, which is something like always-on display, clock, date, battery, missed calls, unread texts, basically notifications only from system apps, the night mode, blue light filter mode, and the eye protection mode, which reduces the flickering when the brightness is low. In the upper part of the display there is a small notch in the form of a water drop, in which there is the 32-megapixel camera. In the system we cannot find an option of hiding it, even in programmer's settings. In more expensive models from the Reno Z series they decided to drop it completely, offering an almost bezel-less display and cameras that slide from the upper edge, which look like a fin. In this reviewed model the display takes 85.7% of the surface of the front panel, which is still a great result. But there is one more important element in here, the fingerprint scanner, which is placed under the display. In order for it to work appropriately, we need to place the finger in a specific place on the display and hold it a bit longer. It helps to backlight the scanner at the moment when we will close our finger to it. Everything is complemented by nice animations. The placement of the scanner is appropriate, we have no problems with hitting it with our finger. In addition, the scanner is fast and precise. It might not be as good as traditional scanners, but there are no reasons to complain about. The fact that this solution is no longer a domain of premium smartphones and more middle-shelf smartphones can boast it is a great news. Besides the reviewed Oppo Xiaomi Mi 9 or Samsung Galaxy A50 have it. This is not the only biometrical security measure, there is the facial recognition as well, which works even with a weak lighting. It is worth adding that the display is protected by Gorilla Glass 5. On the back panel, our attention is drawn not only by the color. The housing is made out of glass, it shines, nicely showing the strap running through the middle. Of course, with the glass panel there are typical flaws, the fact that the surface is slick and we can see dirt and fingerprints on it, though they are less bothersome than I thought and it is easy to remove them. In the central part we will notice two cameras, which are leveled with the surface of the panel. Below them there is the green, slightly convex O-dot ball, which slightly lifts the part of the backs above the surface. Thanks to this we will not scratch cameras by accident when placing it on a desk or another flat surface. The frame that connects both panels is plastic and curved, that is why the phone lies in hands nicely. On the upper edge there is only the hole of the additional microphone, while on the right there is the power button. At the bottom there is a lot going on, because here we can find the 3.5mm mini jack, microphone's hole, USB-C socket and the external speaker. The tray for SIM cards can be found on the left edge of the phone. It stores 2 SIM cards in the nano size. Below, in a small cavity, there are 2 buttons for the volume control. System and applications. The smartphone works under Android 9.0 Pie, but the system is highly modified with the ColorOS 6.0 add-on. During creating this text, the newest security update is dated on the 5th of September 2019. The ColorOS aesthetics will not appeal to everyone, still, when it comes to intuitiveness and functionality it stands on a high level. It will not appeal to those who prefer a pure Android, as it significantly modifies the system and its looks. Among functions offered by the interface there is, for example, the possibility to divide the screen, clone apps and hiding some of them behind a password. It is possible to use the side panel, the bar near the edge, which can be used to have your favorite apps by hand. In addition, the system offers the possibility to change the navigation mode. It ensures gestures, like double tapping the display in order to wake it up, and movements, like lift to turn on the display. It can display apps on main desktops or in a typical apps menu. Drivers can use the smart driving mode, which concerns the BT connection with a car. I liked numerous functions connected with security. For example, there is the SOS function, which can be run by pressing the power button 5 times. We can block unwanted calls and false BTS, and there are additional security functions. Secure keyboard, it appears when typing confidential information, like in banking apps. It does not store typed data, it does not connect with networks and it does not show hints. This function is turned off by default. In order to turn it on we must activate it in the Keyboard and Input Methods tab. Screenshot and screen recording prevention, it is run when we are using secure keyboard or private safe, which prevents the phone from taking a screenshot, and while recording the screen it only shows a black surface. Prevent background recording of audio or images, the system shows a notification and a warning when any app working in the background is using a microphone or if it wants to use the camera to take photos. Oppo Reno Z provides the Game Space, an app thanks to which we can manage the battery usage while gaming, lock the automatic brightness control, use smart resolution adjustment or block notifications, everything that it can to ensure a higher efficiency in games. It is worth using the Quick Access tab, which is called Smart Sidebar. It can be found on the left side of the main desktop and it has the last used contacts, most often used apps, weather widget and pedometer. I was surprised with an enhanced calculator, which has a converter for currency, length, temperature and others. Sound. 2 speakers are responsible for the sound, the main, more powerful, on the lower edge, and the second, receiver, which is placed above the display. Reno Z provides a rather loud sound, though the stereo effect is uneven. The lower speaker is noticeably louder and it muffles the second one. Stereo speaker is a plus, though the sound quality is simply decent. However, it is still better than a mono speaker. Earphones added to the set are loud enough. Fortunately, thanks to the mini jack we can plug our favorite set in order to achieve a more satisfactory sound. Among sound settings we will find the Dolby Atmos tab. It provides predefined sound corrections, for movies, games and music. In addition, there is a smart sound and graphic equalizer. There is also an FM radio with a very simple app. Photos and video. The smartphone is equipped with a dual camera. The basic unit is a 48-megapixel camera with the Sony IMX586 sensor with an f1.7 brightness. It is supported by a 5-megapixel camera with an f2.4 brightness lens for depth measurement and providing the background blurring effect in the portrait mode. In comparison with more expensive smartphones from the Reno series in the Z model, we will not find neither a wide-angle lens nor a 10x lossless zoom. Still, it ensures a nice specification of both cameras, which in daylight provide great photos and pleasing ones during the night. It only lacks a wide-angle camera. The optical image stabilization would be nice as well. Reno Z has only EIS. The camera provides photos with a 12-megapixel resolution, but we can force 48-megapixel photos. It is useful especially when you would like to frame particular fields of the shot. HDR working in the auto mode is always a pleasant solution, but I think that Reno Z does not activate it that often. I like the bokeh effect in shots. When it comes to the night mode, called Ultra Night 2.0, I have mixed feelings. Thanks to it, photos taken in weak lighting become brighter, lights are not overexposed, photos have more details with a smaller grain. But the final effect will not always please us. Sometimes it looks great, sometimes it ruins a shot. The camera app is rather simple and friendly. There is no excess of options to get lost in. We only get what is necessary and useful. There is a lot of options. The most important switches are under our hand, and among modes we can find the manual, night, portrait, stop motion and slow motion, and the possibility to use Google Lens. The smartphone has a more conventional housing than other models from the Reno series when it comes to the front camera. Oppo Reno and Reno 10X Zoom had something resembling a shark's fin that was sliding out from the upper edge of the housing, while Reno Z has a standard notch in the form of a water drop, in which there is the 32-megapixel camera with an f2.0 brightness lens. We can use the display for an additional face lighting. The background blurring effect looks nice. HDR works in the auto mode. There are a lot of beautification options. However, it is worth checking after taking a photo whether the face was properly focused on. After browsing through some photos taken with the smartphone, I have noticed that some of them were out of focus. When it comes to video recording, the smartphone has a default resolution of Full HD, but it can record videos in a maximum resolution of UHD with 30 frames per second. And in slow motion with 120 frames per second. I have no concerns towards recordings. They are smooth and sharp with good focus and nice audio. Communication. The smartphone supports all the most popular communication options: NFC, dual-channel Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5.0 and navigation working with GPS, GLONASS, Beidou and Galileo systems. From physical sockets, there is a tray for 2 SIM cards. The smartphone supports 2G, 3G and LTE Category 12 networks, 3.5mm mini jack and USB Type-C, with OTG support. There is no possibility to place a memory card, but with 128 GB of internal memory we should have enough space for apps and files. Voice calls. The quality of calls is decent in every way. We can hear our interlocutors loud and clear, and they did not have any problems even when I was calling them while being in noisy surroundings. The smartphone supports 2 SIM cards, which can be easily configured in settings for managing voice calls and data transfer. Memory and efficiency. With 128 GB of internal memory, the user is left with around 108 GB after turning on the phone for the first time. The smartphone does not support memory cards, so for enhancing the memory we can only use cloud solutions. The MediaTek Helio P90 CPU, supported by PowerVR GM9446 GPU and 4 GB of RAM, are responsible for the efficiency. The specification is not the most impressive one, but it works without any problems. The system works smoothly. It has no problems with working with many apps or with longer gaming sessions. The animation is smooth, there are no lags. Sometimes we can clean apps in cache. If there are too many of them, it sometimes takes a bit longer to switch between them. Basically, the smartphone works in everyday activities and in solutions that require more power, like gaming. Of course, you cannot count on an efficiency of a flagship. There are some lags and slowdowns, but this is a device which price does not exceed €350. Real Racing 3 or Asphalt 8 work without any problems. There are no problems with overheating, even during more intensive work. Battery. Oppo Reno Z has a capacious cell 4035 MHz, which ensures good lifespans, a day and a half on average. Though it of course depends on how we are using the phone. If we are constantly playing games, charging it daily will be a necessity. But with a more moderate usage we should end the day with around 30 to 40%. In order to prolong the time we can turn off the on-screen clock and befriend power-saving modes, like sleeping mode, smart power saver and power consumption details. With the 20-watt charger from the set, which supports the VOOC 3.0 technology, the smartphone charges really fast. After 30 minutes from beginning of charging the power level shows 45%, after an hour 85%. In order to fully charge the battery we need an hour and a half. It is a pity that there is no wireless charging. Summary. Oppo Reno Z is a great smartphone, which in middle price shelf has nothing to be ashamed of. It looks better than some flagships, this is of course a matter of one's personal taste, it ensures good lifespans, it has a great efficiency and it provides nice photos. This is a device priced at €349, which is definitely worth its price. But it has a strong and an equally impressive competition, among which we can find Xiaomi Mi 9T, Samsung Galaxy A50, Huawei P30 Lite, Xiaomi Mi 9 SE, Huawei P20, Motorola Moto G7 Plus or Motorola One Vision.